Hey there, it's me, Paula, in my pantry. So, growing up, there was never a shortage of food in our house, right? If anyone knew my mother, you know that there was always plenty of food on the table, plenty of food in the pantry, never a shortage. So, when I graduated from university, I got married and I moved away, I would often come home to visit my parents because I love them and I love coming back to Canada. Now, every time I would leave to go home to drive back, because like I would come and visit my parents for a few days and then drive home, and I would do this consistently. Every time I would go and visit my parents, I was not able to leave without huge amounts of food being sent home with me. Oh my gosh, my mother would load up bags and boxes of food because she had a pantry similar to mine. Okay, she had a pantry like this, and then the downstairs was also full of food. So she would always send home tons of food with me. And she'd go through the freezer. She'd send a bunch of stuff home from the freezer. She'd go through the fridge, send leftovers with me. I mean, there was just vast quantities of food every time. And it got to be a bit of a joke. Or, there were some times where I'd be like, Mom, I don't have room for all this food. You can't give me all this food. I don't have room. I'd say, the vehicle's packed with the kids and me and our stuff. I don't want all this food. So it depended. Sometimes I did come home with a ton of food, sometimes I didn't. Then if my mom and my dad ever came to visit me when I was living in Duluth, they would come fully loaded with tons of stuff to fill up my pantry. There were times where it bothered me and it annoyed me where I was just like, okay, no more food. No, I don't have any more room for food. It's okay. You don't need to keep giving me food. Fast forward to now. And my middle son, well, I don't have three sons. So my middle child, my son Ethan, he moved out on his own last year. And same thing, whenever Matt would go to visit him, gotta send food. What kind of food can we bring? What kind of food can we bring? Now my oldest son, Nathan, just moved out this week. And I find myself, I was like, what can I send with you? What kind of groceries can I send with you? And this morning I went, oh my gosh, I'm my mother. And I get it because everything in me as mom, even when like Lydia was at college last year, every time I go to see her, I'd be like, I can bring you a bunch of stuff. Do you want some stuff from home? I'll bring you a bag of groceries. I'm like, oh, it's in me too. I just want to bring food to people. And anytime I go and see them, it's like, let me give you some food. Because there must be something about taking care of the basic needs of people, right? It's like, as long as you have food, you're going to be okay. And as long as there's food to eat in your pantry, you're going to be okay. But I just had that realization today that I'm just like my mother. I guess life is funny. When we're younger, we think certain things. You get older, you're like, oh. And then when you get even older, you go, ha, ha, ha. And when you're super old, you're like, you're just laughing at everybody else because you're like, yeah, you guys don't even have a clue.